All right,
let's
we
get
got
to
one
the
less.
short field of the classic coming up here, guys. Let's do it.
Get up there. Come on. Woo-hoo. There we go. All right. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will run. Cyberknife first preference dirt mile. We all said that's probably the better decision here. Let's just do it. Let's pull our exactas here. I'm gonna go Flightline Epicenter. What about you, Mike?
Flightline Taba. Ice cold, baby.
Jared, you're on Flightline Taba?
Yeah, I mean, me and Mike will be betting that race together, I think.
Aaron, what about you?
It's going to be an interesting dynamic. Whoever makes first run into Flightline will probably not finish second. Will that be Taba or will that be Epicenter? I think that's going to determine it. And I think it's going to be Taba that tries to make the first run. And I'm a little bit worried he might struggle once he tries to run into him and he doesn't fire. I will go Flightline and Epicenter right now.
It's amazing how Life is Good has just been kind of discarded. At least it feels like no one's talking about Life is Good in this spot. Who, if you rewind to the beginning of this year, was the horse, right? I mean, if you looked at like March, Life is Good was going to be the favorite in this race. Obviously, Flightline develops, comes onto the scene. That changes it a little bit. But now Life is Good feels like an afterthought in this spot almost and should make the lead here. And we're at Keeneland where last time we were here, Authentic went gate to wire. What do you think of Life is Good here and the running style that you'll see from him? Because Flightline's not going to press. Flightline will sit off and then make a big move. That's what we've seen the last couple times.
I think if Flightline wasn't in the race, Life is Good is your most likely winner because I don't think he'd see another horse the whole race. He just looks like he's gone. But my kind of thought process is, Flightline can sit close to him, doesn't have to be on him, pass him at the top of the stretch. And I think at that point, if that happens, Life is Good's going to pack it in. And then that's when your Epicenters and your Tabas, who have been sitting in third and fourth, around that range anyway, start to make their move. And then it's just a battle between those two down the stretch for second. That's how I see it. I really think Life is Good. If for some reason Flightline can't get to him, I think he'll take him. But I think once he gets past, he will kind of give it up a little bit. Plus the 1.25 miles. We saw it. It wasn't good in Dubai. I don't think it's going to be good for him here either.
Couple things. So one, if people are going to, because inevitably people will bitch about the field size here. What more do you want? Okay. Like this has got everything you want here. You got the Flightline versus Life is Good on the olders. You got the top 3-year-olds who we think are all top 3-year-olds, with Epicenter and Taba, those matching up. Of course, then you've got Rich Strike. Happy Saver, the stayer, who just shows up, he gets pieces of every race. Like, I don't know who else you would want, and not to mention Hot Rod Charlie. So that, I think this, I don't know what else you'd want. I love these kind of fields because it's like, there's no excuse, there's not a 12-horse field. A horse breaks from the 12th spot and then he gets screwed or whatever. Like, no, they all are going to be the best horse will win the race. Two, don't you guys kind of wonder, I kind of think that there might be two races that happen in this race. There's the Life is Good versus Flightline race, and then there's everybody else in the next race. And what I mean by that is you go look at the Pacific Classic, he's separated from everybody. And obviously he had a horse out there with him at first. Life is Good, we know, is going to go. Flightline, we know, can stay with him, but they obviously will separate. And to your point, Halterman, it's like who will get first run? But I would argue that will the first run on Flightline be 8 lengths back when it starts, that big of a gap when they hit the turn. I don't know how big of a difference it's going to make, whether it be Taba, whether it be Epicenter, whether it be Hot Rod, whoever gets that quote unquote first run. Because I don't know I think they're going to be many lengths back before they even make that run. I don't think any of those horses will be able to stay with the inevitable speed that I think we're going to see with Life is Good and Flightline going.
Will one of the contenders try to go with him when he makes his move? That's the question. Because the one that does is screwed, in my opinion.
That'll be Epicenter. I mean, Epicenter is going to be closer to this pace than Taba will.
I don't know if that's a fact.
Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Did you see the Derby?
Because Epicenter's done that consistently. I think Taba's going to sit further off here in this spot, then we'll see Epicenter. I mean, Taba was sitting further back in the Haskell, and in the Derby, you're right, with 20 horses, Taba was more forwardly placed, but he wasn't nearly as mature of a horse. In the last couple of races, Taba's been coming from off the pace, not being close up to it. So I think Epicenter is going to be the one that sits closer here, and we'll see what happens. Now, Joel could pull him back, but I think you're going to see Taba and Epicenter pretty much run a match race behind that duel up front, and I think Taba's going to be the one sitting further back.
I don't think you can confidently say that about either one of them, because Epicenter was last in the Jim Dandy. Now got a good stalking trip.
4 horses.
Well, Epicenter was second to last in the Preakness. I mean, he's kind of done it all. I don't really know where he's going to sit, to be honest. Taba, I'm very confident. He kind of sits the same trip every time, right? Epicenter was a speed horse when this thing all started, and then he was a stalker, then he was a closer, and now he's back to being a stalker. I don't know exactly where he will sit.
I'm expecting a Travers type position.
If he's a Travers type position, he will probably be a little bit ahead of Taba then. Yeah.
Well, they've all commented on it, right? Baffert and O'Neill and Pletcher and Aspeys and all that. I mean, they all know what Flightline is, and so it's like you think you've got to think most of them be like, don't fuck with that horse, okay? Just don't get close to him, because you know that your horse is not good enough to run with Flightline. How much of that do you think goes into this race? It seems like Baffert thinks he can win the race, but he thinks he can win a lot of these races. But how much goes into these saying, you know what, we're not going to test either one of those horses up front, and we're just going to run our race in third, say. And maybe if we get lucky and Flightline falters, we can get up there and win the thing. But otherwise, you know what I'm saying, Alterman? Like if you're hot rod, you say, you know what, we're going to go after him. We're going to go. Well, you're fucked, right? You have no chance to even hit the board. So how much of that goes into some of these with Olympiad, with Rich Strike, with Taba, with all those other horses?
Ask all the horses that ran in the Classic last year.
Yeah, exactly, right?
People specifically talked about the Baffert horse last year, Medina Spirit, when he ran that race, that style of race.
Yep.
He ran for second.
Running for second. Third.
Yeah, that's what you're going to – I don't think you're going to see anyone who's like, hey, I'm going to go crazy and try and take out Flightline.
Nope.
In his last 9 races, who's never finished worse than second? Epicenter. Any kind of trip you give him, he can finish second or win. He's not as good as Flightline, but if Joel pulls him back, if Joel sits him in a stalking position, I think he is the one you can be most confident in.
He's never not been the best horse in each of those races as well, though.
I want to ask, I know Halton's answer, because we talked about it. You may have mentioned this on the other show the other day, but me and Halton talked to John White about this, and I want to ask my 2 resident Magic Mike guys here, who are kind of equally on on opposite sides of each other from the 3-year-old department. What needs to happen for Taba to win 3-year-old of the year? Does he need to just finish ahead of Epicenter in this race? Like, if say Flightline wins by 5 or whatever, does he just need to beat Epicenter and he can get it? Or, we kind of talked about how big that Haskell race would have been had he won that race and had that, then he also had the Pennsylvania Derby. Then he also got second in the Classic or whatever. Does he need to win here, Taba? And what does Epicenter need to do to secure that?
I think Taba needs to win or else it's Epicenter.
Agreed.
That's what I think.
And if Nest wins and neither of these horses win, Nest should win 3-year-old, I think.
Well, there's 2 different categories. They're not competing in the same category. There's female.
Sorry.
And male.
I'm sorry. You're right. I combined them as horse of the year in my head.
The biggest thing is Epicenter has danced every dance all year long. And even if Taba's second and Epicenter's third, that's not enough.
Well, you have the Travers victory too.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Epicenter's run second in a couple of races along the way that are the big ones, but has that Travers to hang the hat on. And Jared, you mentioned Taba doesn't have that 3-year-old big time race, and the Haskell would have been that to hang that victory on. And so without that, you got to win this race in my mind.
To me, it's like Travers is a lot stronger than even a Cincinnati Derby and Pennsylvania Derby win. It just is. The Travers is that big of a race. And if it's like a 2-3 kind of thing, where it's like, can you really give Taba the victory because he got second over Epicenter, who got third? I will say this about Epicenter. I think he will run. he'll give you a race. Like, he's going to bring a race here. So I think if you like Epicenter Magic, you like Epicenter for second, like, he'll be in second probably, for at least he'll be close to it, right? I just think it's going to be such a fascinating race. You would assume that we'll be looking at Flightline, then we'll be like, all right, where's Taba? Where's Epicenter? Like, who is the better 3-year-old? Because we really haven't seen those two square up at their best yet.
That's just it. I mean, that's the thing. You kind of hope, if you want to know, okay, who is the best 3-year-old? You just kind of hope that Life is Good, Epicenter, or Life is Good, Flightline kind of just are on their own thing up front, and then, like you said, they just kind of try to run for second, Taba and Epicenter, and let's see who the best one is. That would kind of be cool to see. I don't know. I just think it's a situation where we know how good, Epicenter is, and we still don't know the very top of Taba. Was that the Pennsylvania Derby, or is there more there for him, to kind of accomplish? So that's kind of the interesting dynamic of those two, where we're pretty sure. I don't think Epicenter's getting better than what he is, but what he is really good. And so now it's just a matter of, can Taba rise to that occasion? He took a huge step in Pennsylvania. He still has another smaller step now, for sure, to take to get to him. And like I said, who knows where Epicenter is going to be, but these two horses most likely are going to be within a length of each other the whole race, until we hit the stretch. So it's going to be pretty cool to see the race within the race, so to speak,
right,
between the 3-year-olds. It's going to listen. Another thing, I brought it up the other day, and we're not really thinking about this race. There's 6 horses in this race that could be the horse of the year if they win. We all are just assuming Flightline is a slam dunk. If he does not show up, or if he doesn't win, he is not the horse of the year. And the winner, unless it's Hot Rod Charlie or Happy Saver, likely is the horse of the year. So
you don't think Hot Rod Charlie could be horse of the year with this win?
No.
Please no. I hope not.
It does. I mean, it gets really. So let's say we're at the top of the stretch and Flightline's not firing. It's a mad scramble all of a sudden for horse of the year.
So Epicenter would win horse of the year. Life is Good would definitely win horse of the year. Olympiad.
Rich Strike would.
And that would be
that would be a story.
I told John, I said, you can have my job if Rich Strike wins the horse of the year.
Well, he would be it, though. He would have to be.
Yeah, he would. He won the Derby, won the Classic. I mean, how could he not?
And he should get a setup again here. I mean, they're going to go fast enough that he's going to have something to run into. So I did a video about Rich Strike. I don't think it's unrealistic that he runs 3rd or 4th in this spot, which is crazy considering where he started, and even what I thought of him after the Derby. But Rich Strike's last 2 efforts in the Travers, and then facing Hot Rod Charlie last time out, they were good efforts. They were solid runs. So
I just don't. And now you're talking to a resident hater of Rich Strike here. I don't think he's good enough to win, but I definitely could see him being that horse to get second. And we talked about Taba's going to get second, or Epicenter's going to get second. What if Rich Strike does because of that? I just don't think he's fast enough to get to, whether it be Flightline or Life is Good or whoever you like. I don't think he's fast enough to win the race, but crazier things could happen. Said Kentucky Derby. So,
in 2015, American Pharoah came in here as hyped as Flightline and won, and FNX got second. And there were good horses in that race.
Yeah,
FNX got second. So it can happen. The biggest thing about it, again, if you go back and watch that replay of 2015, horses made moves early trying to get to Pharoah, and they melted down. And that allowed kind of those grinders to get up there and get second and third. Rich Strike can do it, but it's going to be dependent on, does Epicenter actually try to win? Does Taba actually try to win? And they all kind of get deflected back, and then that's it. I mean, it's possible. So, because Rich Strike's doing one thing: drop to the back, make a run. Happy Saver, drop to the back, make a run. Like those strategies are easy.
Yeah, that's just it. There's really no question what they're going to do. So, I don't know. Rich Strike, I will have a you guys might have to revive me if we see him making that move And
Jared
FLIGHTLINE
off Twitter.
FLIGHTLINE's just grasping. I hope. Yeah,
I was gonna say Magic's pulling out his
my
phone
phone
and gonna record
if he
Jared.
wins. Somebody just take my phone. I don't want to deal with that shit after this race. Just take it. Just look at me. Don't ask questions. Grab my phone, take it, and we'll just talk about it.
Jared,
later.
come here real quick. What do you think about Rich Strike right now?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the end of the day, it shouldn't happen, but
it's horse racing.
It's not the worst situation for him. And by the way, he's coming into this race looking 300 times better than he was coming into the Derby looking. Like his race last time out in the Lucas Classic was solid. His Travers was solid.
Yeah, he had to improve by 100% to win the Derby. He only has to improve by like 20% here.
Yeah.
You got the elbow action. We didn't even handicap that. That could get enough to get up there for second as well.
That's
somebody had a comment earlier. I forget who it was, but they said Sonny's going to get 2 minutes for elbowing.
I heard the flyer.
Would you guys rather see fly like a FLIGHTLINE, Taba battle or whoever you like, Epicenter, like, or just one of those Pharaoh-ish moments where they round the turn, you were just thinking, let's enjoy this because he just is extending and nobody's coming after him, like by the stretch of the length of the stretch. I mean, which one would you rather see here? Or I guess option 3 is him getting beat, but I think we all like FLIGHTLINE.
I'm an anarchist, but not that much of an anarchist.
I'd like to see him roll. I love greatness, and we don't get to see it very often. And he has a chance. Now, he obviously, without the victories earlier in the 3-year-old career, without being in any of the classics, it makes it harder for him. And he has to come back as a 5-year-old, and he has to win the classic again next year. But he has a chance to be a Mount Rushmore type horse, right? And we've had some of those in the classic, and like Ghost Sapper comes to mind, where Ghost Sapper wins the classic in his 9th start, doesn't get to come back and run, never ran in any of the Triple Crown races, and he's not thought of as one of those Mount Rushmore type horses, but had that level of talent and holds the highest buyer ever. Mm-hmm. That Taba could ascend to that Mount Rushmore level. I would much rather see that. I remember I enjoyed Zenyatta winning much more than I enjoyed her losing, right? I wanted to see Curlin win the second year. I wanted to see Cigar win the second classic. This could be the first step in that. And I'd much rather be there to see that than root for a defeat. And if it's close, great. But if it's just a massive win, that really cements the idea that he could be that horse.
I want to see a blowout or I want to see a loss. I don't want to see it because if it's close, it's like, yeah, it's not, it doesn't stand out. If he blows them out, it stands out. And if he loses, it'll be something we'll never forget. If he wins by half length, I'm not really going to, it'll be fun, but it's like, yeah, okay. What
if it's he wins by a half length and third is the length of the stretch? What if it's a battle at that point between Epicenter, Taba? Fuck it, Rich Strike. As long as he wins, cool. Rich Strike, sure, why not?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I would like that.
I think I would definitely rather see, like, I'm with Halterman a little bit. I'd rather him win by 20 or Taba beat him because I'll have money on Taba too. Listen, I think we all need before we end this thing, let's all, at least me personally, I'll say it. Like, there is no world that he gets beat at FLIGHTLINE, that is, unless if something happens. He is flat. He doesn't bring it. Like, I don't think there's any situation that you can come up with that says, you know what, he ran his race and he just got beat. That's not going to happen, period. Like, I'm with Somich. He wins it. Like, he's
got a shot.
One of the best ever. He wins this thing, like, legit one of the best ever. And I get it, like, oh yeah, we're young, like, well, yeah, we weren't alive when Secretary. I don't care. Talk to anybody that knows the game. Talk to John White. He'll say the same thing. And so, yeah, I'm with you guys. I want to see greatness. I want to see him just roll here.
Hey, remember when Sadler couldn't ship?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think we put that to bed, haven't we?
Look, if he doesn't roll. Now, betting is a separate thing, but as far as like fans of the game, forget about your bets for a minute, because we may have some saver bets on other horses that might pay balloons. Fine. Forget about that. As a fan, if he doesn't roll, no matter what happens in the other 13 Breeders' Cup races, a little part of you is going to go, that wasn't exactly what we wanted, from a fan standpoint. And so that's just the facts of it. if he comes out and he does, I mean, he doesn't have to win by 20, but if he does what Magic just has on the screen, you're going to be really happy and excited as a fan of the sport.
I was mad, or not mad, but sad that I wasn't there wasn't able to be there for that Pacific Classic. So I want to see the Pacific Classic again. I wasn't there to see it in person. I want to be there to see what it's like to feel the roar of like the crowd when that. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit when Knicks Go won the Classic. That was we were excited. It also meant because it's like when we saw Knicks Go coming off the turn, we knew like, hey, we're going to end this whole weekend on a big positive note financially and emotionally. But that was a big feeling. And then just to see him, I mean, geez, I get goosebumps still watching this. Just watching him just extend.
There aren't many times in racing where all the people from a fan standpoint are rooting for the same horse, or at least 90% of the people. You don't get it very often. You got it with Pharaoh. You got it with Justify when he won the Triple Crown because people want to see a Triple Crown. You got it with Zenyatta. You're going to have that with this horse. No matter what the bets are, when this horse turns for home, if you're a fan of racing, you want to see a performance like this in person. So yeah, Magic, you may have not ever experienced anything like that, and that's going to be pretty darn awesome if he does. And like I said, if he doesn't do it, then it's you're going to go home and you're going to be like, damn it, came all the way from California to see this. What the hell?
I mean, Zenyatta's Breeders' Cup Classics are great examples. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in the crowd for both of them. And the first one she wins, that place was going nuts. I mean, nuts. It didn't matter who you bet. You just wanted to see her make that phenomenal move, and she was breathtaking. I had never heard a quieter racetrack than Churchill Downs the second after the finish line, because she missed by literally a nose, and everyone knew it. It was a photo, but it was not. Like, everyone knew Blaine got there, and the whole place just became deflated because everyone wanted her to win. And in these type of days, specifically the Breeders' Cup Classic, where these horses are phenomenal and they are the best ever, or some of the best ever horses, you have these moments where people want to see this kind of thing. And Flightline has that opportunity this year. We have not had a horse like that in a while at the Breeders' Cup Classic. Knicks Go was not one of those horses. Authentic wasn't one of those horses. It's been a while since we've had that level of a horse that we had a chance to see again in another season running this race.
Yep.
We can go out on this question. Good question from John. We get this question a lot, and we're always happy to answer. If you already give the race to Flightline with really low odds, we all think he's going to win. How are we going to bet the race? One option we talked about was the straight exacta. One other option. Mike, what's a different way if you don't want to do a cold exacta? What's a different way you can make money with Flightline?
I mean, the price is going to be low, right? I mean, you look at like some past heavy favorites. Easy Goer went off at 1-2. Cigar went off at 3-5. So you've had some pretty low numbers. You're going to see shorter than that, most likely in this classic. I think you're going to see 2-5 off odds, somewhere right around that range. I think the easiest way is a cold exacta. Like you said, Magic, the turf's pretty wide open. You could play a double into Flightline if you want to play a double into that turf race. There's also a lot of different options from a multi-race betting sequence and two-day sequences where there's $2 pick sixes. And if you see Flightline as this cold single, figure out what races you like, and then look for pick threes, look for daily doubles, look for pick fours, pick five, pick sixes that you can use Flightline as a cold single and have a few more bullets in other spots to be able to try and create some value around the multi-race bets.
Aaron?
Yeah, John, you asked a follow-up question that'll lead into kind of my answer of what your first question. You said, will any other horse pay better to place than Flightline will to win? That is possible that would happen. You can try to do that, try to pick a place horse. To me, though, the best thing to do is to kind of do what Somich said. You're going to get more value. You're going to get a better payout if you go ahead and use Flightline and use him as a single, whether it be in multi-races or whether it be on top of something. And then underneath, whether it be exactas or tries, try to play it straight with a couple of horses, or like Somich said, play a double into him. Your payout is going to be a lot more.
Yeah, Somich. Don't mess with it.
I mean, I'm hoping I'm betting a $50,000 exacta in that race. I mean, that's going to be how a lot of the players target it is massive exactas or massive trifectas. I mean, last year I was trying to get $50K to win on Knicks Go because I thought that's what it would take to win it. I'm not getting 3-1 this year on Flightline. I'll put it that way. So it's how can you figure out how to get 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, and blow it up that last race. I think that's probably going to be exactas and trifectas that you're going to see some really big bets come in on.
Yeah.
Well, and John too, you had asked the question about the place. I mean, look at this. Country Grammar was second place. He was second betting option in the Pacific Classic, and his place money paid the same as Flightline to win. And that was that race. That was Country Grammar. Is not, you're going to have stronger opinions in Epicenter and Taba too.
Can I use that as an example real quick since you've got it on the screen? So, John, your question was, can you get a place horse in? Well, 260 to win on Flightline, 260 to place on Country Grammar. Where if you would have played a straight 5-2 exacta in the race, I think it paid like 3-1. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. You can find a place horse. You can try it. I don't think that's the best bet to actually make, though. I mean, I get the logic behind it, but I think you can maximize your value on Flightline in better ways than, hey, I'll just try to pick the horse to get second. When you're essentially, that's what you're trying to do anyway with an exacta or a try, and you're going to get a lot better payout out of it.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if for the first time in the history of the Breeders' Cup, we're going to have bridge jumpers on this show pool.
Yep.
Because this is one of those horses that you could see the 210 to show, and we've never seen that in a classic before. I'll be interested to see if that comes in and how much money is bet in that show pool, because there's a lot of people that try and make 10% in 2 minutes, right? Or 5% in 2 minutes. If you're able to do it, this is a great way to try and do it. And Flightline is one of those horses that I think people may try to do it with.
Well, yeah, to your point, it kind of feels like he either wins somewhat easily or he's like out of it, because he just faltered and couldn't get there or whatever that case may be. So, yeah, I mean, if there is a situation that you can come up with, that would be it, right? So, no, I think I'm kind of with Somich here. I'll probably play a huge to see what the odds are, but you're probably going to get, 3-5-1, somewhere that on maybe even higher on Flightline over Taba, just straight, just pound that, because it's like, I'm not getting that's my two strongest opinions of the race. So, and I don't think Taba can beat Flightline unless something insane happened. So why not just pound it, right?
Well, that's the key. I think you have 4 or 5 logical options for second, which means that all of those exactas are going to pay 3-1, 4-1, right?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, you just have to pick the place horse if you think Flightline's a free square in the top spot, and you're going to get a decent amount of cash, because the thing with betting to place is Flightline gets half that pool. And a lot of that money is Flightline's money in the place pool. So it devalues the place money for any other horse if Flightline is first. If Flightline's out of the top 2, that completely changes the conversation. But Flightline is first. The second place money is devalued, and there really isn't that much value because of who won the race.
And I think hopefully people understand this, but if you are kind of new to have, go look on your betting apps or whatever, go look at the wheel pays, go look at the probables and see what these things are paying, what they look like they might pay with that exacta. And then you kind of make a better decision. It's like, oh, okay, well, I really like Taba or whatever, but he's only paying, 2-1 and Epicenter's paying 6-1. I'm like, well, okay, there might be a little bit more value in that one. You know what I mean? So look at those to kind of help gauge what you think you should do in terms of a value goes in the race.
Yep. And like John's comment, okay, what about Flightline over Hot Rod Charlie and Olympiad? If you like Hot Rod Charlie and Olympiad, that's probably a good bet from a payout standpoint. Now, I'm not telling you that I like Hot Rod Charlie or Olympiad, but if you handicap it and that's what you like, that there's nothing wrong with that bet from what you're going to get paid for it.
Any final thoughts before we wrap this one up, fellas? I know we've covered a lot and we've still got a lot more to go. By the way, if you want more Breeders' Cup content, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet, youtube.com/racingdudes. We've got a ton of videos that are already coming out later today, so you can check that out. We'll be live Halloween morning for me at 9 a.m., noon Eastern on Monday, October 31st. I'm sorry, 11:30 a.m. is going to be when they do that. So 11:30 for me is 2:30 Eastern. 2:30 Eastern, that's when the post draw is. So no Magic Mike show on that Monday. Due to Bet Daily, we're stopping that for the time being just because of Breeders' Cup. But make sure you come back here and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got a ton of content. Jared, final thoughts before we get out of here, buddy.
Just, all the work is, we have been working, obviously, but the real work starts now. Now we know what the fields are seemingly going to shape up as. And, just hope that you get some of your horses that you're interested in, get them to the race. And that, there's no better time of the year than right now, in my opinion. I love the build up to the Breeders' Cup.
Michael asked if the guide's going to go up in price. It stays the same price. So if you want to wait till, most people do end up buying, or a lot of people do buy as it gets closer. So
just for you, Michael, we'll make that 60 for you, but everyone else gets the same.
If you buy it today, Michael, it's the same price. But if you try buying tomorrow, it's 60.
I tell you what, Michael, you buy it today, I'll send you Magic's number, and you can text him whatever you need during the Breeders' Cup.
That's worth a lot more than.
That might be actually negative.
I don't know if that really added anything, but
I'm mostly doing it because I want someone to have Magic's number. So.
The guy did a fantasy draft and got the first pick and didn't pick Flightline, so I don't know that you want that, Michael. But no, the guide will stay the same.
Listen,
yes,
I'm with Witsy. If Witsy's right, if Flightline doesn't get the job done, I'm going to look like a genius.
Oh my gosh!
So Just to kind of piggyback off that, the guide thing, there's been a couple people in the chat. Who's your long shots? What do you like? What's this? What's that? We just got who we think is going to run in the field. So give us till next week, and then you'll know. Like I can't make any other kind of comments towards that until now the work really starts, right? Now we actually know, and now we can get in there and get those answers for you for next week.
And to piggyback that, the guide will be released Wednesday next week. But we update, if something happens, a scratch comes out, whatever happens, we go in, we update it, and you have access to that in your dashboard and the website. So just always go download the recent version, and we'll have it updated. So it's not like a one and done. Oh well, I guess I don't know who they like now. No, we'll continue to update. Somich has an article. We all have top 4 picks in the. So anything that happens and changes, we go in and update these things up until Saturday morning. So. It's a continuous update guide. It's not just like we just release it on Wednesday and say good luck.
We don't? Okay, well, that's good to know. Mike, I know you've got the BC. What's that?
So for you, we do, because you don't wake up half the time until we don't know who to put in there. So we just say, just tell me. I can't tell how many times we've done that. We're like, I don't know, just put a horse I think he likes there.
You're probably better off doing that anyways. Tom, we'll leave on this. Tom missed out on a BC ticket in a tourney last night to a tiebreaker. Tom, I know you've been trying a lot of tourney stuff, and did Tom win one of ours, or did Tom win something that knocked out Dr. T? There's something, I know Tom's name's popped up in a lot of tournament stuff, so keep trying. You'll get there. No more dudes who bet daily. We're on a pause right now until Breeders' Cup is done. But I tell you what, the CFL playoffs start next weekend. I'm going to be tweeting out my best ones for that. Oh, we got one tomorrow?
We'll be back tomorrow for Dudes Who Bet Daily. Yeah, we're taking the day off for this show. We'll be back tomorrow. We will not be live Breeders' Cup week for Dudes Who Bet Daily, just because we'll all be traveling on Monday or on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll be live at night, recapping and talking about the Breeders' Cup races and everything that's going down. So that'll all be happening. And if you do want to qualify for BCBC, like Tom is here, there are a lot of qualifiers still left leading up to next week. It's a blast to play in that tournament. It's a lot of money to buy in, but a lot of fun if you're able to qualify for a smaller amount.
I see, Michael. You get Magic's number 26. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. If a girl named Jenny answers, that's just my assistant. Don't worry about that. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We got Dudes Who Bet Daily, and then of course Magic Mike Show. We'll do one last Keeneland preview Thursday afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Until then. Oh shit! I gotta figure out which one am I using to get us out of here.
I was hoping you were gonna say, and I'm Magic there. I was waiting for it.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best betting tips and coverage for the 2022 Breeders' Cup. Our wagering guides have cashed for thousands. You cannot miss our 2022 Inside Track wagering guide to the Breeders' Cup. So hurry up and subscribe. Then go to RacingDudes.com. Check out the free picks for every race, every track across the country, and the Inside Track to the Breeders' Cup wagering guide available soon.